Creating a page transition effects can sometimes be a lot of time consuming, but not on a Divhunt. In this video we're going to create two page transition effects. One is going to be a simple fade in fade out effect, and the second one is going to be overlay based one. So sit tight and enjoy. Okay, first of all we need to deselect all the tags, so click anywhere on the canvas, hit the escape key on your keyboard and you will deselect all your tags. This way we are making our interaction be global. So now let's switch to interactions tab, let's add new interaction, open it, let's name it simply page loads. We need to set up a event on page load, which is a default when you create the interaction, so we'll just leave it like this, and you can immediately go to the timeline and set up some actions. In this example we'll keep it simple so you can understand better how this works. So let's create this animation, let's just name it main, it doesn't really matter. For the duration we can input something like 500 milliseconds, initial state is okay, and now for the target we need to open this drop down and select a custom. Then you want to type in here .dh-body, which is a default class which is attached to your body tag inside your project. So we want to target the body tag, which holds everything inside our web page. So let's hit save button here and we can immediately set up some properties. So let's start simple with a opacity from 0 to 100, for example. Hit save button. And we can add a little bit of movement here, so let's use the Y position. So let's input something like minus 50 pixel to 0. So we want from the minus 50 to 0, so in other words from top to bottom. So let's hit save button. For the easing, I personally like ease out Bezier, so let's add it up. Hit save button and let's preview how this looks like. And this is pretty much okay. So let's hit the save button and we can test this out on a live page to see what we've done. So once the website loads, let's switch the pages, you will see every time I switch the page, this interaction which we created will be triggered. So now we can go back and make the actual animation which will animate our content when we switch to the other page. So let's again deselect everything and let's add another interaction here. Let's name this page unloads. For the event, we need a, where is this? Inside a pages, we need on page unload event. So let's select it and we can immediately again create some actions. So this time, let's again name this main, set up the duration to be 500 milliseconds, same as before. And for the target, we need to do the same. So here we select custom, then here .dh-body. Hit the save button. For the easing, we'll set it up to be the same. And for the CSS properties, this time we want our page to disappear. So we are going to invert some values. So we want the opacity this time to go from 100 to 0. Hit save button. And again, let's input some movement here. So again, Y position. This time we want it to go from the 0 to the negative 50 pixels. Let's hit save button. Let's hit save button again. If I hit the preview, you will see that everything now goes inverted from before. Let's hit save button again and let's test everything out on the live site. Now, if I switch the pages, you will see that nothing new actually happens, and that's because we've set on-page unload trigger, which happens instantly once I switch the pages and my animations actually don't have time to execute. So let's go back in the builder to fix this. So again, let's deselect everything, page unloads, we need this animation, and now I need to set up a delay here. And how to set up this delay? Well, basically I need to sum up all the animations that I have here and to input that as a delay. For example, I have only one action here, which is lasting 500 milliseconds. So I just need to input a delay of 500 milliseconds. If you have a multiple actions and your actual animation lasts, for example, 3 seconds, you will input a delay of 3 seconds. Now, why is this important? This way we are giving our actions actual time to execute, and then the page unload happens. So we are basically giving a delay of 500 milliseconds, which is enough time for my actions to execute. Once this time has passed, my page will unload. So now I can hit the save button here, and again go to the live site. And now, when I switch the pages, you will see that once I click on the link, my whole content is going up, and when the other page is loaded, the content is going down. And that's actually what the page unload and page load does. But if I continue doing this, you will notice this small lag, and this lag can occur when you're working with a opacity property. And now let me show you how can you fix that issue. First of all, we again need to deselect everything, and here we need to add a new interaction. So this time let's name it page preload. For the event, we need to scroll down a little bit, and here into the page section, this time we need to select on page preload event. This event basically triggers before our page starts loading. So once this is set up, we need to add another action. Let's name it main. Duration needs to be 0. And for the delay, we'll come back later. First of all, let's set up a target. Again, it's completely the same. .dh dash body. Hit save button. And now, this is important part. We need to set a opacity from 0 to 0 in order to refix this bug. So let's hit the save button here, and now we need to set up a delay. Delay needs to be exactly the same as our page unload length. If you remember before, we set up the delay for our page unload to be 500 milliseconds, and we need to input that exact value here as well. So let's input it here, hit the save button, hit save again, and now we can revisit our live site. And now you will see that the lag we had before has been completely removed and everything now works smoothly. Okay, now let's make another type of animation. For this one, we are going to make a div, which is going to fill out our screen while we are transitioning between the pages. So let's immediately create one div. Let's just name it page transition. Hit enter. Let's go to the design panel here and let's attach a class here. Let's call it page transition simply. Hit the enter, and we're going to input all the styles on this class since we are going to reuse this div on all the pages that we have, so we can later on easily restyle it if needed. So first of all, we want to set up a position to be fixed, and let's stick it to the top left corner. And we want to set up the size to be 100% in width. And for the height, we are going to set up 100 VH, so it can take up full height of our viewport. And for the background color, let's use this blue here. And we need to increase the Z index here in order for this div to cover everything. And our base structure is finished here. Now we can proceed and create the interactions, but before we do that, let's first of all take this div here, copy it, and let's paste it down to multiple pages. And this will be enough. Now we can deselect everything as we did before, go to the interactions tab, add new interaction, and let's call it page loads, simply as before. And then here, we need, let's call it main. For the duration, again, 500 milliseconds. And this time, target is going to be custom again with a class of page transition. This is the class which we attached to that div. Let's hit the save button. Let's set up the easing to be ease out Bezier. And now for the stylings, we want this div to resize from the 0 to 100% once we unload the page, and once the page is started loading, we want this div to be from 100% brought back to 0%. So for this animation, we want to use a width property. So again, as we said, on the load, we want it to go from 100% back to 0%. Let's hit save button here, save again. Let's test it out, and you can see how it shrinks back to 0% in width. Now we can hit save button here and add another animation. Let's call it page unload. And for the event, we need to set up a on-page unload as we did before. So let's create new action here, call it main. For the duration, 500 milliseconds. We need to set up a target here. So again, we go to the custom, hit the dot since we're targeting a class, and input here page dash transition, which is the class of our div. Hit save button. For the easing, we can set up this one. And now for the CSS property, as we said before, we need to manipulate a width property, this time from 0% to 100%. Hit a save button, hit the save again here, and we need to set up a delay since we're working with a unload event. As we did before, we need to set up 500 milliseconds for this example, hit a save button, and we can actually test everything out. So on the live site, you will immediately see that this blue div has disappeared. Now let's transition to a different page. You will see once the page unloads, this div gets width from 0% to 100%, and once the other page is loaded, this div goes from 100% in width back to 0% in width. Now, if I switch, for example, on this contact page, you will see that my div has not gotten smoothly from 100% back to 0%. And if I go back to this page, for example, you will notice this lag. This is because we pasted our page transition div only on our home page, about page, and pricing page. These pages does not contain this div, and that's why it's not working properly. If you want this to work on every single page, you will need to copy this div and paste it on every single page inside your website. Now let's get a little bit more creative and let's edit our animation a little bit more. First of all, let's open our page unload event here. Let's open this action here and let's play with a positioning of our div a little bit. So let's add another CSS property here, and we would need a left property. By the default, as we set on this div, the left position is 0% and the right position is auto. So let's invert that a little bit. When the page is unloaded, we want this div to grow from the left to the right side. So we would need a left property to be 0 pixels, and we can as well input 0 here. Let's hit save button. We can save here as well and here. Now inside a page load animation, let's edit this action here and let's again edit some position styles. So here we would need for the left to be auto, since we want a page load event to push our div all the way to the right side. So let's set left to be auto, and we will need to edit the right as well to be 0 pixels this time. So let's input the same value in both fields, hit the save button, save again. And since we inputted all the values inside our interactions here, we can actually select our div. Let's select the class, and we can set up a 0% here, and everything will still work perfectly. And now we can see everything clearly inside our builder, so it doesn't get in our way. Now we can open the live site to test everything out. Now, if I switch the page, you will see that my div comes from the left side and goes on the right side completely. Not as before, it grows from the left and goes back to the left side. This time it has this a little bit position tweaking, but as I keep changing the pages, you will notice that sometimes it lags. You will notice this tiny blink, and we can easily fix this by going back inside the builder, selecting a page unload interaction, going here and turning the initial state off. So we need to set up this value to no, hit save, Save again. Now if we go back to test it out again, you will see that as I change pages now, everything works smoothly without lags or the blinking effect. And we slowly came to the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, hit a like button and I will be seeing you in the next video. Until then, happy building!